The uprising across America continued for an 8th day and night. Tens of thousands of people staged large protests and marches in cities all across the country. As you see here in my hometown of D.C., then there's Detroit and in New York. Now, things were mostly peaceful as the looting and destruction did. It also included members of Floyd's family. But all across the nation, National Guard troops and equipment were stationed to help keep the peace. This was the scene in front of the Lincoln Memorial last night in Washington, D.C. Wow, dozens of National Guard troops stood in rows along the steps as throngs of protesters gathered. Meantime, on the other side of the country, in Hollywood Boulevard, this is in L.A. Check out this picture. The National Guard trucks and troops parked along yesterday. It speaks volumes.
Y'all stand together with the community, with society, to stop the governmental oppression, period. We need you. So then march with us. March beside us. You get your people. Y'all march beside us. March beside us. March beside us. Let the revolution be televised. March beside us and show us that you're here for us.
Can you take a kneel?
I don't know. They ain't enough for me.
Let me see.
They ain't enough for me.
Words have a lot of power. Really quick before we get started, I just want to show this graphic, and Al and Brandon, it shows how many cities and states were in protests yesterday, and that was all 50. And someone tweeted, when was the last time you've seen all 50 states do anything together? Al, what's your response to that?
You know, Tori, as I look and I see those police lined up in front of buildings and objects, it just kind of goes to remind you what people think is important. Really important. When people take to the streets and say, I've had enough, that means it's really important. Even the CEO of Target came out and said, we can make another Target. We cannot make another George Floyd. We cannot make another Breonna Taylor. So let's start worrying about human lives and stop worrying about...
When we say that after a mass mobilization against police brutality, the police responded with, in some ways, more brutality. Do you think it was their presence that made people more peaceful, or are we just learning to be more peaceful and they are just more brutal?
I think social media has brought an awareness to, and it's calling out who a lot of these actual instigators and agitators are at these peaceful protests. So it may sound crazy, Tori. I'm glad that the National Guard is out there because I want people to be able to protest peacefully and really convey the message that we're really trying to get out there. So I want those National Guards to be there. I don't want them marching with Kiki and them respectfully because I would rather him be on that post just in case we have another Charlottesville incident and someone tries to drive into that crowd to try and kill and harm other Americans who are trying to get out the proper narrative. So it may sound crazy that I'm like, yes, I want the National Guard out there, but I want them out there for the right reasons.
I do too, and I guess I want a de-escalated National Guard, but it is really hard to see those images of our classic, iconic Americana next to what looks like a war zone. It's something.